usual suspects. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back on this beautiful Saturday night slash evening, depending on where you're joining us from. It's been an action-packed weekend, kicking things off from yesterday, of course, going back to Friday night football and everything that has so far transpired throughout Sunday, including a surprise result as Como beat up against Juventus in the Italian Serie A. So there's a lot, obviously, to digest from the world of football. And please do join us on this journey as we digest the latest that there has been from the weekend. But of course, obviously, there will be only one place to start, and that will be Anfield, because tonight we pose the question: are Liverpool that bad, or Manchester United are much better, or are better? So that will be the question we will attempt to answer in tonight's broadcast. But before we proceed any further, allow me have our audios tested. Make sure everything does check out to the T, so that we do not fall short on anything or on any single thing, so that we make sure everything is all right before we proceed any further. But to all our new subscribers, welcome to the Football Tribe UG community. It's a pleasure to have you around. It's a pleasure to have you join us. It's good to have you around. I hope you do enjoy your stay here with us. I hope you go ahead to love and support what we do on every single day by checking out the channel, visit the channel, watch our videos, watch our live broadcasts, our shorts under the shorts section, and everything that we bring to you henceforth. You can hit me up on all social media platforms at @Sarkos_K, and then on TikTok we are there as a Football Tribe UG. So yeah, do not hesitate to check all that out. Special shout outs and greetings to my colleague and friend in Mbale, that's Kanso Matobubili. I hope you're doing well, my brother, regardless of everything that has happened in recent times. I hope you are doing okay. Anyways, like I said, is it a surprise result that Manchester United have managed to beat up against Liverpool? I do not suddenly want to think it's a huge surprise, given the kind of recent form that Liverpool have been showcasing, but also given the historical context of the rivalry that exists between these two sides. So, whereas it was not expected amongst many circles that Manchester United would go on to win today's game, it did happen. Perhaps they gave a surprise to a few. But like I did mention yesterday in the preview to this game, I wouldn't be surprised, because Man United is one of those teams that even when they're having a bad spell, or when things are not going as well as they would have loved them to be, they still manage to find a way to win. And perhaps today was one of those days. Yesterday we were talking about Arsenal having to grind it out against Fulham, and they won in a 1-0 victory. Today it was Manchester United. I mean, you thought that they had conceded a bit of a slightly late equalizer, and yet they still found a way to return to winning ways. But anyways, so we will be speaking about that game entirely. First of all, Man United got off to an early start. Was it 65 seconds thereabout for Brandon Bomo to get off the mark with a spectacular goal, with Amadou Diallo providing the assist for that one, beating Georgi Mamadashvili, from close range. And then it's a game that offered, many chances on either side, but Liverpool predominantly put theirs to waste, including hitting the upright through Cody Gakpo, who on 2 different occasions should have found the back of the net, with one being a header from close range that he sort of headed wide of the mark, with literally the net at his mercy. So that was the nature of the game. Of course, as you would expect, Liverpool being at home, they did dominate play. I seem to remember one of our usual suspects, LFC, saying he did not want this game to come. I think deep down in his guts, he knew that perhaps something bad was bound to happen. He's a Liverpool fan from Ireland. Maybe his coach or his gut feeling had told him that it was not going to be a good Super Sunday for Liverpool at Anfield, who have now lost 4 consecutive games in all competitions and 3 consecutive games in the Premier League. Now, for your own information, last season Liverpool lost 4 games in the Premier League alone throughout the entire campaign. Now, we are yet to get to the halfway mark of the season, and they've already lost 3. So that should tell you how downward a trajectory they have started this season with, even with all the player additions that they managed to add, during the course of the summer. So their overall possession being 63.3% compared to Manchester United's 36.7%. One you would expect. Liverpool are at home. I expected goals. Liverpool, of course, had the majority share of that with 2.76, compared to Manchester United with 1.26. Like I said, Liverpool dominated the affairs in terms of going forward, in terms of creating chances. They were just not clinical. Mohamed Salah, on multiple occasions, should have done better, But you felt, when things are not going your way, everything you touch does not come out the way you want it. And yet when things are really, really going your way, everything you touch, turns to gold. That you score even with the slightest of touches. You score from the longest of distances. You score from the tightest of angles. And yet now, all those things seem to be going to the contrary in as far as Liverpool are concerned. We talk about them because in that break, because they are the defending champions. Just the other day, I think over the course of the weekend, was towards it, I did a video that we did put out on the channel where we did pose the question, who are Arsenal's biggest title rivals going into this season? And the reason as to why we brought the topic as such is because Arsenal were at the summit of the Premier League table, which they still are following that victory, that narrow victory against Fulham yesterday. They remain at the summit of the Premier League table. So the question we did pose was, who are Arsenal's title, who will be Arsenal's biggest title rivals? And top of that list for me is Liverpool. Why? They are the reigning champions, like I said. 2, we mentioned Manchester City, we mentioned Chelsea, and all the others, including the mention of Manchester United, who my friend Kasuku did bring to light earlier on this week as title contenders by the virtue of the fact that mathematically they are still in it. And in any case, I've sat here before and told you that the thing about the Premier League, or like any other league, is that you may see these teams further apart in terms of league table standings, and yet a couple of decent run of results, win 4 games on the spin, 5-6 games, and then suddenly you either top or within the top 3. That's just the nature of it. It's about getting that spell of consistency. Anyways, but nonetheless, it still won't change my stance that Liverpool are that, because on paper, when you look at their starting 11, I think when their starting 11 is fully fit, I think pound for pound, you could argue that they have the best starting 11 in the Premier League. And when you look at players like Alson Wan-Bissaka, Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahim Konate, Andy Robertson, or Milos Kerkez, Jeremy Frimpong, you look at Gravenberch, McAllister, Soboslai, Florian Wirtz, you look at Ekitike, you look at Mo Salah, you look at Alexander Isak, you look at Cody Gakpo. That squad, when you pick out of that squad, your core starting 11, I think arguably they could be the best that there is in the Premier League, pound for pound. And yet, things have not gone their way in recent times. When you look at the statistics now, like I said, they've lost 4 games consecutively across all competitions, and 3 in the Premier League alone. And yet last season, across 38 Premier League games, they lost 4 games, including a 3-1 loss to Chelsea, including a 3-2 loss to Fulham, including a 1-0 loss to Nottingham Forest. I think I do not remember what the other loss was, but those are some of the games they lost. As we speak, they've already lost to Crystal Palace by 2-1. They've lost to Chelsea by 2-1, and they've lost to Manchester United by a similar scoreline today, with Harry Maguire scoring in the 84th minute, a brilliant header to ensure that they walked away with all 3 points from Old Trafford as Manchester United clinched their second consecutive victory for the first time under the charges of Ruben Amorim. Just in the build-up to this particular game, I was telling you that Manchester United had recorded 3 consecutive victories at Old Trafford under the charges of Ruben Amorim, and were yet to record 2 consecutive victories in the Premier League. You know, that considering home and away kind of run, or even if it were, let's say, they played a game at Old Trafford and their next game was at Old Trafford. So consecutive games in the Premier League had not happened. The consecutive wins had come at Old Trafford, where the one against Burnley went away to Fulham. Was it Fulham? And then, no, maybe it wasn't Fulham, but they went away and drew. Then they came back to Old Trafford, won a game, went away to Manchester City, lost the game, in that sort of sense. Now they have won 2 consecutive games because prior to the international break, they had beaten up against Sunderland by 2-0, and this evening they managed to beat up against Liverpool by 2-1. Cody Gakpo scored in the 78th minute, and a simple tap-in, which was an equalizer at the time, but it turned out to be a mere consolation that cancelled out Brandon Bomo's second-minute goal that had given Manchester United the lead for the largest chunk of the game. At that stage, having scored that equalizer, again, Liverpool looked the better side. They attacked, they looked the more promising side to score, and yet it was Manchester United that stole all the glory, all the show. On the other side, with Harry Maguire headed that ball beyond the reach of Georgie Mamadashvili in a game, like I said, where Liverpool created a majority of chances. Total of 19 shots on goal compared to Manchester United's 12. 6 of those were on target for Liverpool, while Manchester United had only 4. 2 big chances created for Man United. Liverpool created 1. 9 corners for Liverpool, only 4 for Man United. Sene Lomans had to make 5 saves, while Georgie Mamadashvili only made 2. So that in itself should paint for you a picture. In regards to how dominant Liverpool were on the night or on the evening at Anfield. Like I said, being the home side, their dominance was really, really expected. However, they lacked that cutting edge in front of goal. They lacked that sharpness. They had moments where they could have scored. They just did not score. Take nothing away from Sene Lomans, who I thought was a very, very good goalkeeper on the day. In terms of his performance, I thought people put in the shift in terms of their performance, particularly for that Man United side. I would want to credit Amadou Diallo. I want to credit Casemiro. I thought they really, really applied themselves well. Matthias De Ligt and Harry Maguire, I thought they did well. Mason Mount, who started in the double 10 alongside Brandon Bomo, with Matthias Cunha starting as the first 9. I thought they did well. Cunha ran his socks off in terms of trying to do the hold-up play, but also did his defensive duties. Later on, Mason Mount was withdrawn for Benjamin Sesko, with Cunha, pulling backwards to another sort of left wing 10, and Benjamin Sesko leading the lines. In a lineup that started with Sene Lomans starting his second game for Manchester United, Luke Shaw, Matthias De Ligt, Amadou Diallo, Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes, Diego Dalot, who I thought also had a good game, Brandon Bomo, Mason Mount, and Matthias Cunha. On the side of Liverpool, Georgie Mamadashvili, Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahim Konate, Conor Bradley, Milos Kerkez, Alexis McAllister, alongside Ryan Gravenberch, with Dominic Szoboszlai ahead of them, Cody Gakpo, Mo Salah, and Alexander Isak. Alexander Isak speaking towards in the pre-match press conference leading to this particular game. His manager, Anna Slot, did come out to say that he had achieved full fitness and that now he would be sort of measured or judged against the right criteria, because we know starting the season he wasn't at full fitness, having missed out on pre-season with Newcastle because of his desire to leave the club. I eventually got his move away, joined his dream club, Liverpool, in a record transfer fee of 25 million pounds, plus an expected 5 million pounds in add-ons. But that notwithstanding, he has yet to live to the expectations. He has yet to live to the hype. He has yet to live to the bidding. And Again, today was another day of that sort of showcase. He struggled through the game. He hardly had any impact on the game. And again, you look at this Liverpool side and ask yourself, what has changed so much that then Liverpool are suffering this way? You could say that there's so many changes in the starting 11. So, for example, today you had Milos Kakes, Mamadashvili, and Alexander Isak. The rest were all starters last season. You could argue Conor Bradley wasn't the main starter, but every time Alexander Trent-Arnold was out injured, he was a starter. So, so again, literally the same team, and yet the results are different. The way they apply themselves, you feel is different. Things are just not clicking. Particularly for Mohamed Salah, things are not clicking. For Alexander Isak, he's yet to find his footing. Of course, they made some changes during the course of the game. We saw the introduction of Hugo Ekitike, Curtis Jones, Jeremy Frimpong at one time, Federico Chiesa later on, but the coming on of Curtis Jones and Hugo Ekitike, we saw Dominic Sobos push to right back, and then Curtis Jones filled in that midfield. And yet, while Liverpool kept on pushing, the goals could not just did not come for them. Things did not just fall in place for them, So it was that sort of game. But all credit goes to Manchester United for grinding it out. Whether you liked how they won will matter less. It will only matter that they won for the first time at Anfield since 2016. So you can see it's been coming on to almost 10 years since they had last won there. So very, a beautiful result there for them. Then, of course, the fourth game that Liverpool lost, when you look at across all competitions, that came in a 1-0 defeat against Galatasaray in the UEFA Champions League. So it's just looking brilliant. It's just looking brilliant. So they had not won at Anfield since 2016. During the same period, they had some of their worst losses, including that 7-0 defeat. When you go back to 2 seasons ago, there was another 4-0 defeat at the same ground. And yet today they decided, and like I said, Man United, give it a big game and they'll step up. Suddenly they're bound to come out of that shell that tends to struggle here and there. Against Manchester City, we did not see that. They got thumped 3-0. Against Arsenal, we saw that grind. We saw them give Arsenal a run for their money, even though Arsenal managed to win the game by a goal to nil. Against Liverpool, they grinded it out and got the results. They got the results. So, like I said, and who better to be a match winner than the former captain, Harry Maguire, who was stripped of the captaincy for it to be handed over to Bruno Fernandes. Surprisingly, so Liverpool, the only big game they've won this season is when they beat up against Arsenal, and it needed an 83rd minute spectacular of a free kick. Otherwise, the game could have easily ended goalless. They've since lost to Chelsea and Man United. So it looks like Liverpool are struggling across the big games. Then, when the season was starting, we looked at their attacking forward. When you have Cody Gakpo, Riongo Moha, Alexander Isak, Mo Salah, Hugo Ekitike, and Florian Wirtz, you had to be scared for defenses. And yet, the last 3 games have been a pity party, for whoever thought that Liverpool was just going to have a run away with it, So it's not just happened that way, in the way we had hoped, or in the way we had predicted or anticipated or expected it to be. And that's the nature of football, that, football surprises you. Football really, really surprises you. And again, for Liverpool, there are now wishes of, had they signed Martin Zubimendi, would have made their midfield better. Had they made different choices here and there. Again, the midfield is available. Of course, Ryan Gravenberch was one of those that was withdrawn, had a slight limp, having, I think twisted, I don't know, a bit his ankle. I don't know what really happened, but he had a slight limp as he got withdrawn. That midfield trio is still there. It's the same midfield trio that was literally the best midfield partnership there was last season. It's still the same, not much has changed, and yet they are struggling. They are struggling. And we're talking about a very, very expensive Liverpool side because they, in the same transfer window, they broke their transfer record twice, but also in the process broke the transfer record for the British, Premier League transfer fee. Again, Sonny Lomans denying denying Alexander Isak, I think, with his feet. You remember last weekend, not last weekend, the weekend prior to the international break, when we watched him in that 2-0 victory against Sunderland, and people were drawing comparisons between Sonny Lomans and David De Gea Quintana. Yes, the way he works with his legs, it's sort of similar to how David De Gea Quintana used to be with his feet. And I thought he had a very, very decent performance. You all to credit him. All to credit him. And I can only hope or expect that this bit of momentum will give Manchester United sort of the grit they need, the fight they need to go ahead and be a better team, the team that we all expect it to be, that things start to click in place for Ruben Amorim, that results have started to come. I mean, because when you look at their form table, the one a good set of games now. They won a good set of games, in as far as the Premier League is concerned. So going into match day 9, where they will be at home against Brighton, I think, yes, that will be on Saturday. They will be at home against Brighton. I have this expectation that they're going to go there in high spirits. They're going to go there in high spirits because things are happening for them. Things are happening for them. When you look at the last set of results, of course, 2 wins in a row for the first time under Ruben Amorim, 2-1 against Liverpool, 2-0 against Sunderland. In between there, a loss to Brentford, but also a victory against Chelsea. And then when you run things back, a loss to Manchester City. So, but particularly if you've won 3 games out of the last 4, that's a very encouraging sign. That's a very, very promising trajectory, one that you can really, really rely on, one you can really, really count on. That's brilliant. That's really, really brilliant. So all we can say is congratulations, Manchester United, upon those very, very beautiful results. Of course, the reaction continues online in the aftermath of that result. And the question we attempted to answer today is: Are Liverpool too bad, or Manchester United are much better? The simple answer is that Liverpool are that bad at the moment. Liverpool are too bad, because it's one thing to lose a game, it's another thing to lose 2 consecutive games. It's a whole different thing to lose 3 consecutive games. If you're Liverpool and to lose 4, then clearly it ceases to be a coincidence. We begin to notice a pattern. Of course, we know that some of their players are underperforming or are not in their best forms. We talk about Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahim Konate, one that has come under enormous criticism. We talk about Mo Salah. Federico Chiesa came on, could not have the impact that you would have hoped for on the game, and things like that. So the entire team really is not performing at its very best. And yet, soon rather than later, I do not think easier fixtures are going to be coming. However, their next game will be away to Brentford, and that game away to Brentford should be the sort of game that they should be looking to bounce back on from. But before that, they are going to have an engagement in the UEFA Champions League. So when you look at that, I think that should be where it all starts. I'm trying to see who they play next in the UEFA Champions League. They're going to be away to Eintracht Frankfurt on Wednesday. So I'm thinking Frankfurt is not going to be an easy game for them. Never going to be an easy game. But they need to start somewhere. Arne Slot needs to start somewhere, finding those solutions, because they need a victory that inspires them through the next game. You remember when we were speaking about them that it felt that they were scrapping themselves through games. 2-1 victories against Burnley and against Arsenal were not convincing at all. Then the 4-2 victory against Bournemouth was in a way a bit flattering. You remember the 3-2 victory against Newcastle, that late winner by Rion Gomoho, again flattering. So they had those sort of set of results where they were winning it late, and it sort of maybe and maybe papered over their problems. But also, I understand that a team like Liverpool needs those kinds of results, because if you're going to win the Premier League title or any other title, you're not always going to win in a dominant manner. You're going to have to scrap away results. Yesterday, we were saying the same thing about Arsenal. Last season, they went to Craven Cottage and drew in a 1-1 draw. This time around, they went and got a 1-0 victory. For me, it mattered less how they played than the fact that they got the 3 points, because when you draw comparisons from last season, in the games, some of the games they played, so far this season against Man United away to Old Trafford, it was a draw. This time around, they managed to win by 1-0 against West Ham United. They lost. This time round, they won by 2-0. So you can see, of course, against Liverpool last season they drew 2-2, but this time around they lost. So, but overall, they've amassed 7 points more or better than they managed to gather last season by the same stage. So that's going to be, a huge positive. Arsenal's biggest worry is going to be, I think, Manchester City and Liverpool. For now, it's more looking like Man City and then Liverpool. But because Liverpool are the reigning champions, like I said, you can lose 4 or 5 games in a row and then still catch up in the Premier League. Why? Because usually that gap, it's all about going on that decent run. Runs that we've seen in the Premier League before. We've seen Manchester City go, 18 games unbeaten, actually just winning. You remember in 2023-2024, the second part of the season, Arsenal lost only 1 game out of the 19 games. So teams can have those kinds of runs of results, and then suddenly they catch up with you. So it's not all lost for Liverpool. They are not out of the title race. In any case, they're only following that loss, they're only 4 points behind the leaders. Manchester City are only 3 points behind Arsenal. So it's still very open. The rest is still very, very open. So Liverpool are too bad at the moment. That's the reality. They're just too bad. Yet on the other side, Manchester United are getting better, because, like I've shown you, they've won 3 of their last 4 Premier League games. So they are getting better. So a getting better Manchester United side, first off, with a worsening Liverpool side, and United came out victorious. United, like I've told you, next game they will be at Old Trafford against Brighton and Hove Albion, while Liverpool will be away to Brentford. So those are the games that they will be up against next. Of course, Monday Night Football will come with some action in as far as to match day 8 is concerned, when West Ham United host Brentford. West Ham United are 19th on the league standings. But following that victory, Man United moved from 10th. I think they had even dropped to 11th, but they moved into the top half of the table with 12 points. Sorry, with 13 points. Yes, with 13 points. Brighton behind them with 12 points. So those two are meeting next weekend, while Liverpool have now dropped to 4th place with Bournemouth moving ahead of them with a better goal difference. Actually, the goal difference is all 3. But I think I do not know what the criteria would be. They've all scored 14 goals. They've all conceded 11 goals and have a positive 3. So I do not know what the criteria particularly is for Bournemouth. Maybe it's alphabetical order now. But yeah, Liverpool have dropped to 4th place with just a point ahead of Chelsea, ahead of Tottenham Hotspur and Sunderland. Tottenham Hotspur earlier on being beaten by Aston Villa by 2-1. Aston Villa, one of those teams that are having a very, very good run of form in recent games, like I've highlighted for you. Today they beat up against Tottenham Hotspur by 2-1. Previously, they had beaten up against Burnley by 2-1. They also beat up against Fulham by 3-1. Then you went further back, they had the 1-0 draw against Sunderland and the 0-0 draw against Everton. So it's then when you go in the UEFA Europa League, they have 2 out of 2, including beating up against Bologna by 0-0. Then the other game was it against Feyenoord? But they won the game. So they are progressively getting better, and they have risen in as far as the league table is concerned, and have moved to 11th place. At some point, they were as low as 19th on the table. But I told you never to worry about Aston Villa. I was sure that Unai Emery is the manager that is capable of pulling them out of their ruins, and he's done just that. So as we speak, it's Arsenal with 19 points, Man City second with 16 points, Bournemouth, Liverpool at 15. Then 3 teams come with 14 points. That's Liverpool, Tottenham Hotspur, and Sunderland. Crystal Palace following their draw yesterday, 13 points, just as in 8th place, just as much as Manchester United. But what a statement victory for Manchester United. Again, the reason as to why this is a very, very crucial victory for Man United, particularly, is because of what it means for their confidence, is because what it means for the Ruben Amorim project. We've spoken time and again that they need results. We need to be discussing less of how they played, what the system is, and everything in that regard. They need results in whichever form or shape that they may come. And I'm glad to say that they are posting those results, So yeah, it's a sort of impressive to watch. So it's going to do a huge deal in as far as their motivation is concerned. In as far as their motivation is concerned, going into match day 9 of the Premier League. So we are done with the 8 games. Bar West Ham playing Brentford, and then we have 30 games to go. That's how games get ticked off, one at a time, slowly by slowly. So we have 3 more Premier League games to play before the November international break. In between there, 2 Champions League games will be played, and also a game in the EFL Cup that will come, I think, should be coming next week, but midweek. That's around 28th and 29th. That's when those fixtures should be played, and then we will determine who goes to, I think, to the quarterfinals. So yeah, we will be determining who goes to the quarterfinals because that competition climax is usually in February. Anyways, do let me know what your thoughts were on that victory for Manchester United against Liverpool at Anfield. What do you think it means for them? Because for me, I think it means it's too good for their confidence. It sort of casts a vote of confidence in the Ruben Amorim, a project that it's not all, as bad as it appears. It's that there's something to be positive about, because you see, this is the nature of the game. One, you could be not winning games, but then you're playing in a manner that is promising results. But soon, rather than later, things are going to click for you. For United, they never had that. And I told you guys, they did not have that to hold on to. Now, while they do not have that, results have started coming. Now, for those of you that are interested in the style of play, in the way they play, you'll criticize them, knowing that for now that results are on their side. So then that helps, it helps with the players' confidence and belief within the dressing room, with the momentum they are trying to build. And yeah, basically that's the beauty about it. So we can only wait and see what more there is for Manchester United to unlock in as far as this season is concerned. So and on BBC Sport, somebody was saying possibly the best moment yet for Ruben Amorim as manager for Manchester United, because going away to Anfield and win for the first time since 2016, also winning against your biggest rival in English football, that's got to be commended. But yeah, that was the result from Anfield. Like I told you, the earlier game between Tottenham Hotspur and Aston Villa ended in defeat for Tottenham Hotspur as they lost by 2-1. Tottenham went into an early lead in that game. They went into an early lead in that game, Unfortunately, they couldn't hold on to it with Rodrigo Bentancur scoring in the 50th minute of the game. But Morgan Rogers, who has been sort of amplifying his form in recent times, scoring to restore parity. That was in the 37th minute, and in the 77th minute, Emi Buendia scored to win it all for Unai Emery's side at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium by 2-1. You know, Tottenham Hotspur's dominating possession with a tune of 52.8% compared to Aston Villa's 47.2%. You can see that the disparity wasn't that big. Expected goals, Tottenham had it better with 0.97. They had a total number of shots on goal were 9 and only 3 were on target, compared to Aston Villa's only 2 on targets, which they scored with, but total shots were 8. So you can see that the gap between the two sides wasn't that big. It's a game of fine margins, and it's Aston Villa that came or walked away with the better result on the day, as again they also continue to build on their momentum. Hi, Carlos Perez. How are you doing, my brother? Good to have you back on the podcast. For those of you that are just joining us, my name is Robert Kesakos, and I'm coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda. Kindly like the podcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel. So those were the results from Super Sunday. We wrapped up, the preview from Liverpool versus Manchester United, what the result means, what it means on the Premier League table, what it means for the Manchester United dressing room, what it means for Liverpool, and how fast they need to pick themselves up. Because if you have the luxury of bringing on £100 million player off your bench, that should be something that changes your fortunes in the game, and yet we did not see that today for Florian Wirtz. Carlos Pires says he's good. That's encouraging to hear. That's very, very encouraging to hear. But yeah, so then I think we can leave it at that in as far as the Premier League is concerned. Let's quickly run, but as we speak, Real Madrid up against Getafe. That game is into the 75th minute, 77th minute, thereabout, 75th minute, thereabout, and it's still goalless. Real Madrid are still trying to find a way through. Remember, Barcelona managed to scrap a 2-1 victory against Girona at home yesterday against Girona, with Ronald Araujo scoring in the 3rd minute of stoppage time to win it for Barcelona as they moved back to the summit of the La Liga standings. So Real Madrid really, really need to win. They really, really need to win here to make sure that they can reclaim their spot at the summit of the La Liga standings. Otherwise, they will stay second, and I bet that's not where Xabi Alonso would love them to be. They are still trying to find the breakthrough, but things are not yet happening for them. Things are not yet happening for them against Getafe. But so in the other games from the Spanish La Liga, Elche and Athletic Bilbao, that one ended in a goalless draw, while it was a 1-1 draw between Celta Vigo and Real Sociedad. Real Sociedad, this poor start to the season continues. Rayo Vallecano beat up against Levante by 3-0. So we'll leave that at that. Then in the Italian Serie A, Como beat up against Juventus by 2-0 with Kemp and Nico Paz, the Argentine youngster, are scoring in that game. Again, Alejandro Garnacho, I do feel for you, because for as long as Nico Paz continues to thrive at Como, then you will struggle to find a playing time, or you will struggle to find a place in that Argentina national team squad, especially ahead of the World Cup 2026. So, but yeah, very, very important victory for Como, because it takes them to 6th place on the Italian Serie A standings, only 3 points behind the 2 table leaders in Inter Milan and Napoli, who are all tied to 15 points, including the 3rd place team in AC Roma, who are at 15 points. So you can see how well they've started their season. 3 victories for them, as well as Juventus, who they managed to beat today. 3 draws and 1 loss for them. So guess what? Como have lost fewer games than the top 3 combined. Sorry, than the top 3 teams. The top 3 have lost 2 games. Como have lost only one. The difference is with the troops. So you can see how Cesc Fabregas is getting better and better. Arsene Charles Wenger, the former Arsenal manager, um, Thierry Henry, who is a shareholder within Como, and Rafael Varane, who had a short stint with Como, and then his contract had to be terminated after he suffered a knee injury before he retired from football, were in the stands watching as Como beat up against Juventus, in the Italian Serie A there. Como, going into this season, their target is because they finished 10th on the standings last season, which was very, very impressive for their debut campaign in the Italian Serie A. Then their target this season is to finish within the European places. Whether it's the UEFA Conference League, whether it's the UEFA Europa League, that's the objective. If it can be the UEFA Champions League, even better. But I think the target is going to be those European places. For me, I prefer that these smaller teams or average teams start from the UEFA Conference League or the very minimum or the very best, the UEFA Europa League, because of the demands that come with European football. Because we are talking about teams that usually have smaller squads, and we know what the demands become when you go into Europe, and yet you want to stay competitive in the domestic league and things like that. This Como side, for some of the players that they do have that may be known to you is Alvaro Morata. Alvaro Morata, when he left AC Milan, of course he had the stint with I think Galatasaray. He joined Como, and they play with a back three, and then they play with a five in midfield, two wing backs and three midfielders, then one midfielder who is an attacking midfielder, and that's Nico Paz, and then the striker Alvaro Morata. Hi LFC, good to have you back. I was just talking about you at the start of this very broadcast, and I was saying in the aftermath of that result from Anfield that I now understand why you feared for Liverpool, or you feared for yourself. Your gut feeling or your gods had told you that it was not going to be a decent result from Anfield, given the last trends that there have been from Liverpool. But yeah, I hope by the result that did happen. Meanwhile, Real Madrid have scored. It's 1-0. Kylian Mbappe has given them the lead. So it's 1-0. Looks like they eventually found a way. So I was saying that I hope away from the result itself, that you are doing okay away from the results. Away from the results. I need to first watch this. I need to, Kylian Mbappe, he can't stop scoring. He can't stop scoring. He can't stop scoring so far this season. He's like Bert Erling Haaland in the Premier League. Bert Erling Haaland is literally carrying Manchester City on his shoulders. And today, Ada Gula providing the assist as Kylian Mbappe gives Real Madrid the lead in the 79th minute of the game. So I wanted us to find out about Kylian Mbappe. How many goals does he have this season in the La Liga standings? I think last I checked, he had about 9. So he now has 10 goals and 2 assists. I mean, isn't he just incredible? Still 26 years of age, second season in the La Liga, LFC says Mbomo goal shouldn't have happened. The referee should have blown the whistle because McAllister got a head injury. You mean injury? Because you wrote energy. A head injury. Yes, I mean, you see, in this game of 5 margins, that's why I keep saying, guys, that you need luck to be on your side. If you're good, it's okay, LFC. That's why I keep saying, LFC, that in modern day football, it's not just about how good you are. You need luck to be on your side. How does luck come on your side? It comes in you not having injuries to your significant players. It comes with you getting certain decisions on the pitch. or getting away with some, that could have gone against you. And today is an example of that, because on another day, Michael Oliver blows the whistle and United do not go ahead to score, and the rules do say that if it's a head injury, the referee can stop play. However, because he did not stop play, they could not cancel out the goal, So because it wasn't deemed a clear and obvious error by the referee. So that's just it, So today, Liverpool, luck was not on their side in that moment of play, in that moment of the game. Also, luck wasn't on their side in the attempts they had at goal. I thought Mohamed Salah should have scored. I thought Cody Gakpo should have scored with that header, that he headed wide of the mark. At one point, at some point, he hit the upright I think in the first half, On another day, that goes in. And luck was just not on Liverpool's side. So Liverpool were the better team on the pitch. They played better than United. But the result in the end was not in their favor. So that's the kind of luck that I keep talking about. That you can be good in all aspects, but if luck is not your side, then results are never going to go your way. Yes, he hit the post multiple times, but the reason as why I make reference to that first attempt, because it was so good. He bent it beyond the reach of the goalkeeper, and you could see Semi Loman stretching out, but could not get a finger to it. And so on another day, Liverpool win this game. They win it possibly 4-1, 4-0, whichever, But luck wasn't just on their side. Mo Salah from close range fired the ball wide of the mark, wide of the post, And I'm thinking to myself, the Mo Salah of last season, he's scoring that one. But you see, when you're not scoring, when you're not in a good moment, everything you touch goes bad. It does not come off. And Mo Salah is in that sort of phase, is in that sort of period. So everything he touches is not coming off. And yet last season, everything touched turned into gold. It literally, things were just falling in place for him. Things were just falling in place for him. And yet now we cannot say the same for him at the moment, So I think Getafe have had a sending off while I was away, explaining to, engaging with LFC here. I think Getafe were given, a red card. But guys, you should go and watch that goal by Nico Pass. I mean, what a street left foot! What a street left foot! How he wraps his foot around that ball to bend it to the far corner beyond the reach of the Juventus goalkeeper is simply sublime and impressive to watch. So yeah, Como did win there in their game against Juventus. Bit of a surprise result. Yes, Nyom was given a red card. Actually, two players. Getafe have now lost two players. Sanchez and Nyom. So Real Madrid are going to win this one because they have the numerical advantage. Getafe had managed to hold them, but now with two players off, I mean, they're bound to lose this one. They're bound to lose this one. They're bound to lose this one. Anyways, but what the implications will be on the La Liga standings is that Real Madrid will move back to the summit of the La Liga standings with that victory, if they are able to see it out. So, anyways, in the other results from the Italian Serie A, Cagliari lost to Bologna by 2-0. Genoa and Parma shared the spoils in a goalless draw, as did Atlanta and Lazio, while AC Milan beat up against Fiorentina by 2-1. Another decent result there for AC Milan, with Rafael Leao on target twice, one being a penalty there to win it for AC Milan, to keep them, to move them actually to the summit of the Italian Serie A standings, where they are at 16 points after 5 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss in the opening 7 games, with Inter Milan, Napoli, and AS Roma coming second, third, and fourth respectively, with 15 points apiece. So that's what's happening in the Italian Serie A. But yeah, I mean, that's what's happening. Cesc Fabregas, I mean, kudos to him. Kudos to him. With Como, we can only wish him the best. Anyway, LFC, if you're still with us, what else did you make of that game at Anfield? What do you think beyond the positive? Are there any positives that you can carry away from that game? Are there some negatives that you think you should be looking to correct in midweek on Wednesday when you face off with Eintracht Frankfurt in the UEFA Champions League, and then subsequently before meeting Brentford away at the GTEC Stadium next weekend on Saturday? That game, I think, will come in the late kickoff at around 10 p.m. So do let me know what your thoughts are, whether you think there are positives to carry away from that game. It was entertaining to watch, at least. Yes, that I certainly agree with you. Again, you see, when you look at how Liverpool played today, I think a part of, if you're a Liverpool fan and you put for a moment, okay, after the end of the game when the dust settles and you put the emotions to the side, when you look at the chances that Liverpool created, or the goal scoring moments that they did create, with 6 shots on goal and things like that, Cody Gakpo hitting the woodwork for fun, literally, you look at it with a sense of positivity and say it just wasn't our day, and on another given day we win this game, because Liverpool in that game played much better than they did in their last 2 losses against Crystal Palace and against Chelsea. Today they played much better. So I think that for me is the positive to take away from that game. Is the positive to take away from that game. Excuse me. So yeah, there's some positivity to look towards too. Okay, I thought I missed out on a comment. I thought I'd missed out on a comment, but I did. Okay. We are waiting for that game between Real Madrid to end. But yeah, LSP, you are right. You are right. Michael Oliver should have blown the whistle when McAllister, got that head injury. I think the clash was with him and Brandon Bomo. I think in that very moment, the clash with, I think, Virgil van Dijk was close by. The two clashed, but Mbomo picked himself up and went, and then slotted that ball past Georgie Mamadashvili. So on another day, Michael Oliver blows the whistle, plays ball to a halt, and you could see, I think it was Virgil van Dijk who walked straight to the referee to say, look, we have a player down and you did not, bring play to a stop. And I mean, that's just not having luck on your side on a day like this. Otherwise, on a given day, you sort of, on close range, it looks like the clash was between him and Van Dijk. I need to review that a little further. There are 3 players in the mix: Brandon Bomo, McAllister, with Virgil van Dijk in the mix of that. But also, Liverpool should have done better in tracking Amadou Diallo's run. Because again, because it's a game of fine margins, I keep saying to myself, as if I'm telling those players, play the whistle. If you do not hear the whistle, do not hesitate. So when McAllister goes down, there was that moment of a lapse in concentration. There's that moment of a lapse in concentration or a bit of switching off, as if to look to McAllister that we are having an injury, an injured player to the floor, and it did not happen for them. The referee didn't call it, and that's how United scored on the other end. But that 23rd minute attempt by Cody Gakpo, for me, that on another day goes in. That on another day goes in. The way he hits the upright with so much power and vigor. But also, just a minute later, Bruno Fernandes came close to doubling Manchester United's lead. He came close to doubling Manchester United's lead. I don't know if that ball kissed the frame at the outside of the post, but he too should have, scored. He too perhaps should have scored. But yeah, both teams had their moments. It's United that made theirs count, and they got the result. They got the result. So then you had a moment in the 50th minute by Cody Gakpo, again hitting the upright, again with power. The way he controls that ball, a quick cut, wraps his foot, around that ball and goes for goal. On another day, that also goes in. On another day, that also goes in, and suddenly it's not. But go back and see that moment in the 65th minute, 64th, 65th minute, thereabouts. Mo Salah from close range, he should be able to score in that. For me, Mo Salah should be able to score in that moment, and yet he doesn't because he was alone, was in yards of space. The goalkeeper tried to come out and close him down, but he blazes that ball wide of the mark. I mean, you could see the disappointment on his face. He knew that he had wasted an opportunity. He knew that he had wasted an opportunity. So, Cody Gakpo twice hit the upright, once in the first half and in the second half. He was the one that still scored what had been the equalizer. He's the one that missed that header. I mean, Jeremy Frimpong is the one that actually crosses that ball in. And he literally had the goal backing. He literally had the goal at his mercy. And he could not convert from close range. He could not convert from close range. But on another day, the assist I think was by Milos Kakes. On another day, those attempts go in and Liverpool are smiling away from Anfield in victory. But it did not happen. It did not happen. It did not happen. It did not happen. And Man United ran away with the day. They ran away with the day. So luck wasn't on their side. Luck wasn't on their side. Yes, that moment for Cody Gakpo came around the 86th minute, 86, 87, thereabouts. Cody Gakpo, when he hits that ball wide. LFC, what's that? You posted a YouTube icon. I mean, and that you see that moment for me is still so fresh in my memory because he knew, just like Mo Salah had done around the 67th minute thereabouts, when he missed, it was just at close range. He just needed to hit that ball on target, and it would have hit the back of the net. It would have hit the back of the net, and yet he didn't. And yet he didn't. And Man United won. What was your dinner today? My dinner, I just had a cup of tea and 2 slices of bread. That's what I had for dinner. just a cup of tea, zested with chinga, black tea. If you know black tea, hot water and tea leaves, plus some chinga or ginger, and and 2 slices of bread. Which, by the way, I'm supposed to stay away from bread, but sometimes the temptation is too high. But I choose to steal a couple of slices. 6, 7. Had my dinner at around what 8:30 thereabouts. Had a Sunday roast dinner. So you did barbecue at home? You grilled some ribs, some sausages, and some steak. What was the composition of that LFC? Pork and chicken. Okay. Interesting combination. Roast potatoes. And carrots. Wow. Never had roast potatoes. Sorry, roast carrots, but I've had roast potatoes. Broccoli. I can see you trying to consume some vegetables. Mashed potatoes. Mash. Was it mashed potatoes or just it's mashed? It could be confusing the two. But yeah, that's that. The game between Real Madrid is into stoppage time. 7 minutes were added. It should come to a close. By now. Yes, it's finished 1-0 in favor of Real Madrid, with Kylian Mbappe scoring his 10th goal of the season. So Real Madrid moved back to 22 first place with 24 points. Barcelona second with 22 points. At the start of the season, I was a doubting Thomas. I must admit, I did not think Real Madrid very early into the season would be one of the teams that would be taking the lead at the La Liga end of standings. I thought it would be Barcelona and Atletico de Madrid. But while Atletico Madrid won yesterday by a goal to nil, I do not think I did not think they would have this kind of poor start to the season, where they've had 4 wins and 4 draws, as many as 4 draws. Because by the way, all teams in the top 4, apart from Villarreal, have only lost 1 game. Actually, teams in the top 7. That's Elche, Espanyol, Real Betis, Atletico de Madrid, Villarreal, Barcelona, and Real Madrid have all lost 1 game, but above Villarreal have lost 2. And then the others are just drawing games for fun. So that's the case in La Liga. You say Real Madrid squad, yeah, they did score. Kylian Mbappe join Liverpool, please, I beg. I do not think Kylian Mbappe will be joining Liverpool anytime soon, unless you're willing to break the bank once again, in January or next summer, to try and land his services. But I think he will do okay with Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike in the long run. Maybe what you will need in the long run, will be a replacement for Mohamed Salah. Will be a replacement for Mohamed Salah. Anyways, it's been 1 hour of doing this. Thank you so much, Carlos Pires. Thank you so much, LFC, for always giving us your time and dedicating the time to be with us. It's been a pleasure doing this with you. Let's do it again tomorrow morning or Monday morning to digest the results further from the weekend and what there will be to come. Of course, like I said, Monday Night Football will come between West Ham and Brentford before we head into the UEFA Champions League. That will be on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we expect to have Europa League and UEFA Conference League action before Friday Night Football, which will include West Ham up against Leeds United, and then do it all over again on match day 9. Stay blessed and have a blessed night, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye for now.